Welcome back to Westeros for yet another episode of House of the Dragon. The 6th episode of House of the Dragon reintroduced us to a lot of characters we spent the rest of the season with new actors and actresses playing them, and as was described by people online and as well as the creators of the show in the behind the episode portion after the episode airs, they discuss this being a second pilot of sorts. In a lot of ways, it mirrors certain events that happened in the pilot, which I found really helpful and interesting and kind of reestablishing this same world, this same timeline of Game of Thrones, but just slightly later. First and foremost, I think the new actors and actresses of Rhanerya, Alicent, Laenor, and Laena, they did a fantastic job. I think everyone really just elevated what that character has experienced, and they very much made the roles feel lived in, to where I'm not looking at this and saying, this is a different lady trying to do an Alicent impression. It's very much, Alicent has just matured. These things that have happened over the last 10 years have really affected her, or Rhaenyra, or Laenor, or whoever. And I think the story also is written in such a way to make you feel people's emotions have been affected by stuff we haven't even seen on screen. Again, this show continues to be so good about jumping forward in timelines. One of the things I specifically really liked about this episode was in the opening scene, when Rhaenyra is giving birth to her 3rd child, I noticed, in kind of an uncomfy way, and maybe you did too, the fact that some of the sounds of labor, delivery, and birth were kind of louder than they should have been, or overemphasized. But I feel like that was done because, of course, the pilot of this show, the pilot of House of the Dragon, opens with Rhaenyra's mother Aemma giving birth and dying in labor, and Rhaenyra explains throughout many episodes in the young Rhaenyra timeline that she is terrified of having children, that she does not want to be used as like a livestock cattle for heirs. She does not want to risk dying. She does not want to have to go through the things that her mother was driven to by her father's need to produce heirs. Like, she just does not want to deal with that. And of course, she's traumatized by the fact that this is a gruesome, tragic way for her mother to die, and that could very well happen to her. I think that was something to like really, reestablish where Rhaenyra comes from in this episode. I think the other great thing that was played up is how Rhaenyra's motherhood has given her a maturity in this new situation. Like, you feel very much like this Rhaenyra is the same Rhaenyra in the past. She still is contrarian sometimes to the way that the king and Alicent are handling things. She's still in opposition to them, but she's realizing she can't do it as blatantly and as impassioned or recklessly as she maybe could as a youth, and now she has to go about it in a much more intelligent way. And I think some of that stems from seeing her as a mother. She has children now to protect. She has a husband who, in many ways, she kind of has to stand in for. She has more power than him in this family dynamic relationship. And I think what's fascinating too is, while this motherhood that Rhaenyra has experienced that has fundamentally changed her, it also continues to prove to the men in the room, or the people who would have her not be heir, who would have Aegon take over in her place, when her being a mother and her being a woman being the subtext of motherhood, is when she's standing in the king's table and she's giving this really diplomatic, great, reasonable, like, let's have our children marry, let's settle this dispute once and for all, I apologize for my wrongdoing, like, let's just settle this. And of course, part of that's to protect herself, because of course the speculation is on her that Laenor is not the true father of her children. Right as that is happening, her breast milk comes in, and you see the full effects of being a mother is undercutting her ability to be queen, yet she has to be a mother to produce heirs. And that's like the part of this that Viserys or any other male king or ruler does not have to deal with, because he doesn't have to be responsible for the raising of the children, of the taking care of the children, and his parenting can kind of be separated from the choices that he makes, like, for the family. I'm not articulating it the way I wish I could, but I thought those were both very profound moments to define that motherhood for Rhaenyra, as much as it has matured her and in some ways potentially given her power and protection because she does have heirs. It is a constant reminder of those who would choose a male heir versus her to be the next ruler of Westeros. The last thing I want to touch on is, of course, the way that the death of Laena kind of parallels the death of Aemma in the first episode, and yet is so different because much like Aemma's pregnancy with Balon and her labor that turns into a situation where she and the child cannot both be saved, Laena takes this destiny kind of into her own hands to say, no, I will die this specific way. I will not have this be taken from me. And I think that is something that probably will greatly impact her children, her 2 daughters, who might find themselves in a similar situation one day. And I thought that was just a really clever way to show that the differences between Daemon and Viserys, although we might assume Daemon to be more cruel than Viserys, he was trying to stop Laena from taking her own life and ending her life because of this stillborn child, whereas Viserys would do whatever it took to get this male heir, even killing his own beloved wife. And I think that the level of complexity that, even though I hate that Laena can no longer be a part of this story because she has just kind of been, she's been a regular figure since those days when they were trying to have her marry Viserys. She's been around, and I think it adds a really interesting, I hate to say footnote, but like level of complexity and backstory to Daemon to show this side of him that is not necessarily this cruel, dastardly character, and rather someone who potentially would have and potentially will make different decisions than his brother, who was, a decent man but not a great king. And I love the way that this series is kind of pitting that humanity and like the side of you that in a normal world might make you good against what it takes to survive in the world of Game of Thrones. But please let me know what you thought of this episode in the comments down below. Please also be sure to like this review if you enjoyed it, and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss my post-episode reviews on live stream and then these clips that go up the Monday morning after. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have an absolutely amazing day or night whenever you're getting to watch this, and I will see you in my very next video.